Hey guys, welcome back to Homestead Prepping and Survival. So, I was doing this and I thought, well, I need to be recording it to show y'all what I'm doing. So I brought these pots in that I had did cuttings off my fruit trees outside in my blueberry bushes. And I've had them inside because our weather went from rather warm to cool. And of course, I'm trying to get them to start roots. And I brought them in, they've been in for several weeks, and you see here I've got some leaves that are coming out on the fig trees. Well, a buddy stopped by the house, and we were sitting here talking about it, and I took a butter knife, and pulled some of them out, trying to make sure I didn't pull any roots off. Nothing that I pulled up had roots on it. So I bought some of this Take Root. It's supposed to be a root start hormone, and I've done it once, and I've got little buds coming out on some of them, but there's still no roots. So what I'm doing now, I cut every one of them with a fresh diagonal cut. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to do a long, thin slice off of one side, just trying to get under that bark, like so. And then I'm going to cut a new, longer angle on the end of it. Yep. All right. So I'm hoping that's going to give me more place for the root to work. So now I'm going to dip it into, I've got a little measuring cup here, I'm going to dip it into the water and get it good and wet. And then I'm going to dip it into the root start or the root hormone and move it around. I want to get it coated on there really good and pull it out. And I'm going to bring this over there and let y'all see it. See, it's got a lot of powder on the end of the limb. So that's supposed to be the root hormone. So then I take my knife, I stick it in here and make me a hole so I don't rub it all off while I put the stick back in or the cutting back in. I'm going to go down, then I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to gently pack that soil around that stem. So I've already done these two and moved them, and I've got to do this other one. So I'm going to take this one that I have not done yet. I've got two in each pot. And sometimes it feels like there may be some roots there. It wants to resist coming out, but it's really just another. See, I don't see any root starting on this. It's been in here for almost a month. It's been several weeks anyway. So what I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut a small shaving off of one side. I'm just leaving the shavings in the pot. It's not going to hurt anything. And then I'm going to make a new diagonal cut out on the base. I'm trying not to cut myself. I sharpened this knife the other day and it's pretty sharp, so I'm trying to be careful. But I want to get a good little bit of the bark off one side, and some of them I'm going to do this. I'm going to just rub the outside layer of bark off. So now that I've got that done, I'm going to take it and dip it in the water, and then dip it in the root hormone, and move it around, let it get good and coated on there. And now I'm going to go back in that hole. I'm going to try to open it up. Take my little knife and kind of spread it open. Slide that down in there and put the soil back around it. Just gently pack it down. So now I've got two of the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 pots done. And like I said, there's at least two in each pot. One of them has had, and that's it right there, has had one of those pumpkin seeds that was trying to grow. And here's another one. And it split open and it had the little green leaf sticking up. Brought it inside and didn't do any more. So, won't be any pumpkins, but I've got apple, I've got pear, I've got peach, I've got nectarine, a couple of fig, and there's about maybe 6 or 8 blueberry bushes. So since it didn't work the first time, I'm going to try again and go through all of these and get more root hormone put on there with a different cut and see if I check them again in a week or two and see if they start rooting. Because I've never used this. I don't have a green thumb. There's a lot of people out there. I got a buddy that I call a brother. He's been one of my friends since I was a little boy. Alan could make a dead twig grow into a huge flourishing tree that started out as a dead sprig of grass. Man's got green thumbs, but he works at it. I'm not saying he don't, but he's very good at it. I'm learning. Some of you are learning. So I'm going to try this stuff. This root hormone or taperoot stuff cost about $8 or $10 for this little bitty bottle. So if it starts roots, then it's worth it. The trick is finding out what have I got to do. I would think these two fig limbs that had leaves coming off the top and these that's got little buds on them had roots, but when I pulled them up to check, no, there's none. So I'm going to finish these and then I'll turn the video back on and let y'all see the result. Alright, so I've got them all cut and scraped and ready to go back in. I took a butter knife and made the holes deep enough and big enough to go back into the pot. So I'm just going to dip every one, stick it in the hole. Now I'm intentionally burying these deep. I want as much of an opportunity as I can get for them to get root start on there and start making some roots. So we're going to see how it works out. I have no idea if this will work. I'm just like you guys. A lot of the prepping I'm learning as I go. A lot of it I've done thousands of times and I can help other people with, and some things like this I'm learning just like you guys are. I'm hoping this root start will help, and I'm also hoping for warmer weather over the next few weeks to help me where I can put these things outside and let them get some good natural sunlight. Now, I watch other channels just like you guys do, and I'm trying to learn. Jason from Cog Hill Farm said you don't want them in direct sunlight because you don't want them to try to sprout leaves and such. You want them to focus on growing those roots, growing the plant itself, which makes a lot of sense. So that's what I'm trying to do. So just take the cut, put it down into the water, and then put that into the root starter. I'm moving it around. I'm trying to get it as coated as I can with the root hormone. Like I say, I'm learning, so I don't know how much it takes. But I want to have the best chance possible for going through all this effort and work of trying to start new fruit trees and new blueberry bushes. So there's no need in any of us doing it if you're not going to be successful. Now I will tell you, I had one that I pulled up that had two little half-inch long roots coming out of it. I don't even remember which one it was. But it also got more root hormone because I want these things to succeed and grow. Got plenty of space out there in the open part of the yard, the field, where I can plant them. So that's my plan, is once they get going, to not just have the one fruit orchard that I've showed y'all on other videos, but to have one fruit orchard in my back corner there, and then one over on this side of the house in that big open field. I want as many fruit trees as I can, because it's just like prepping. It doesn't matter if I grow too much fruit and can't eat it all. It doesn't matter to me at all to have food left over. So I'm going to continue doing that until I have no more room to plant. And I can always give excess fruit away or sell it. I've got a guy that owns a few small chain grocery stores, independent stores, and he actually offered to buy pears from me off of my pear trees. I don't know the legalities of all that, but the year before last I had over 200 pounds of pears off of 2 trees. Alright, so I've got all those set down in the soil really well. Pull this glove off. I'm going to take my measuring cup and I'm going to basically overwater every one of these. I don't want them to die because they didn't have enough water. We'll put that one in the dirty dishes over here. I'm going to get the big one out. Probably going to have some run off. That's why I've got that foil up under all the pots, because I don't want the water running all over my table. All I did was take some of that wide foil, run it out, and fold the edges up so that it's kind of like a pan up under all these potted plants, so it'll catch all the extra water. When I had them outside for that first week or so before it got really cold, they stayed saturated the whole time because we were getting rain on a daily basis there for a little while, even if it was a little bit of rain. So I was worried about that as well, and I moved them under that lean-to on the mini barn. And a little bit more to finish the other. That one looks saturated enough. That one does too. That one's holding it. The soil wasn't dry. It was damp. It just wasn't wet. So I don't water them every day. I've only had to add water since I brought them inside in 3 weeks one time. They're not drying out. So I do have some water coming like out of this pot running into the foil. That's fine. It'll keep it from getting on my table. So I don't know if this take root stuff sold at Lowe's will work. I have no idea. Maybe there's a better brand. But this is the second time I've tried to get these 20 cuttings to grow roots. So I don't know if it's the weather or if I did something wrong or any of that. But this is what I bought from Lowe's. And it's in their garden center out there. It was pretty dusty on the shelf, so they've had it a while. We'll just have to see. I'm going to let them sit there until I get some warmer weather. And hopefully, when I check these in a week or two, maybe 3, if I see signs of growth again on all the cuttings or most of them, I'll probably dig one of those up and try and see if there's any roots starting. I need to know. I can't, my buddy's like, well, them two have leaves. They should have roots. Okay, I'd have thought the same thing, but neither one had roots started. So basically it was sprouting leaves off of the nutrients in the cutting that I did. So just like many of you learning, I've cut them different this time, scraped some of the bark off beside the cutting, made it much longer, and I'm going to allow these to try for another 2 or 3 weeks to see if I can get some growth out of them. Now, if the weather warms up, I'm going to put them back outside to where they'll get a little bit of sunshine, but nicer weather. I don't want them outside when we're getting down into the upper 30s and 40s. I don't want to stop them from taking root. And a lot of the channels I follow, Pinball Preparedness, Jason at Cog Hill, several others, say you need, pretty much overall, every plant's a little different, but pretty much you want 70 degrees for these plants to start growing and all of that, or for your seeds to germinate. How about that? I'm not planting seeds, I'm planting cuttings, trying to grow roots. So I don't know if it's the same thing or not, but I maintain this house between 70 and 72 usually during the winter, and I'm trying to extend a little bit of light, since my house is a little darker than most, by turning on my solar light up there. And I leave it on from the time I get home until I go to bed, so that they get a little bit more light than what they would without it, because the shorter days and all that stuff. So I don't know how it's going to work. Guys, follow along. If you've got advice for me that you've done and it works, let me know. I want to learn this stuff, and I want to grow my fruit orchards. I've got, I don't know, about 30-something fruit trees out there now. I'd like to have 100. If I give fruit away, great. If I sell a little bit, great. If I, can it, preserve it, put it up, that's good. Crap hits the fan, people are going to need food. And fruit that grows different times of the year, ready to be picked and eaten, can be a big part of that you can eat fresh off the bush or tree with no energy of your own other than a little maintenance as far as pruning and that kind of stuff. So, just my idea. If you haven't thought about it, think about it. You can grow smaller plants like blueberry bushes, tomato plants, that kind of stuff, in a lot of people do in 5-gallon buckets or large pots, 55, 30-gallon barrels cut, that kind of stuff. Just try to keep it manageable where you can move it. But potatoes in buckets, there's a lot of things you can do if you just put a little effort into it. It doesn't cost much money at all. The roots start for $10, but if it works, it's going to last me for hundreds of cuttings. You can't beat that. You're talking pennies per tree or per bush. So, if you got ideas, let me know. I appreciate y'all watching. If you have not done so already, please follow us on Rumble and hit that thumbs up button. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. And y'all, both of you, both YouTube and Rumble, please share the channel when you can, so that other people will join in and help offer more knowledge and help grow the channel. Thank y'all very much. Remember the 2 things I always tell you that's more important than anything else. Jesus Christ loves you, and so do I. Y'all be safe. Be prepared.